Hello YouTube and hello Ninth Age community. This is Charles with Evershade Gaming and I've got another Ninth Age battle report. This is the first game playing with the Empire Dannstahl that I'm hoping to create. The Empire Dannstahl is a homebrew created by DanT on the forums. It really caught my eye as just an interesting possible future of the Empire Dannstahl. Directions it could go, new ways of playing with the orders, new ways of kind of thinking about the units, a good kind of meshing together of some things, and a good sort of distinctifying things, if that's an actual word. So I got to play a game with them. We played Encircle and Breakthrough, and before I get right into the game, I just want to share a couple aspects of the Empire Dannstahl that will be easier to sort of just do a small sort of little video about, and then I'll get into the game proper. So yeah, this is the Empire Dannstahl, which got a very early, I guess an alpha version of it perhaps, in the middle of the summer, I guess towards the end of July 25th. And since then, sort of, DanT been working on it and published a couple versions of it. Sort of the idea of where you wanted to go with this homebrew, and then updated with points over the summer, and now we have like a full homebrew with points. And there's a lot of things that definitely have stayed the same, I feel like. Rightfully so, because I personally believe the Empire Dannstahl is in a pretty solid spot currently. Can use some tweaks, but overall I think it plays well still. One of my favorite things, which is really important to talk about if I'm going to be able to go through this video, is just going over the orders. So the way the orders are given now is they still come from your characters, from your marshal. There's a new regimental commander that can give an order. And orders are only given to parent units. And when a parent unit receives an order, which you can see there's now only 3 orders now, it may also give a single order to a friendly, 2 support units within 8 inches of that parent unit. So now instead of having like multiple orders in a list and you say like the supporting unit does this parent unit does this, it's a bit more of a cohesive sort of unit thing going on there, where the parent unit gets an order and the support units next to it follow suit. And since that sort of unity is going on between parent and support units, DanT condensed the orders into kind of to embody a bit more of what we had. There's no more ready, aim, fire. Brace for impact is an order that just gives fight next rank and accurate. Advance still is +1 advance, +4 march rate, and steady men is still a minute assist. Really, brace for impact and ready aim fire combined into one order, and that's also actually how the shooting units can get the extra ranks to fire in too. So I think this is probably my favorite thing. I really feel like it makes orders even more important than I feel like the orders are probably at their best spot that they've ever been in the Ninth Age currently. I remember the ready aim fire when it was like +1 ballista skill was OP for a minute, because it was like all of a sudden you could have like these light infantry units hitting on 2s, which is pretty crazy. But I find the current order system works well, is useful, is advantageous to employ on your units, and overall pretty interesting. I like this sort of evolution for orders, where the support units and the parent units are sort of doing the same thing, where instead you could previously, it's like this unit will advance, this unit will shoot. I think it works well, but I like the idea of units doing similar things together. For strategy, for tactics, for the kind of army vision, all sorts of things. This is an important rule that comes up for me, is the signal corps. So the marshal still can give his order to, you know, any unit within his commanding presence. The regimental commanders, if they're a BSB, can do so, which I ended up taking a BSB regimental commander. And I also took a BSB on a Pegasus because I wanted to try this out. Since basically all the flying mounts get this rule called Signal Corps, in which they can hand out their order within 12 inches. And if they're within 8 inches of a parent unit, they get an Aegis 5 up against range attacks, which I thought was pretty interesting. That basically only works for the Pegasus because it doesn't have towering presence, so it makes Pegasuses a bit more interesting than they currently are. And then I feel like some of the parent and support unit got a couple tweaks. Yeah, I definitely forgot about if the support unit successfully charges, each small part in the charge unit loses one attack. I forgot about that. Yeah, it's definitely a good rule, and a good encouragement to play with lots of parents and support units so that they can do that thing where they work together. I just want to show a couple more things because I don't want this to be the whole video, obviously. I played with Imperial Seal. I didn't really try out too many of the new things, except I did take the Evidence of Civilization there right in the middle because I thought it sounded really good. Close combat attacks against the bear and rank and file models in the bear's unit compare their offensive skill to the defender's discipline rather than defensive skill. And then shields or parry still adds +1 different. Sort of parry still gives you a bit of a bump for that. It's probably going to get better wording in the future. I thought that could be very powerful with the Imperial Seal because I would have Discipline 10 on my Marshal. I'll show you guys how it worked. And that's right. The major thing probably to show will be the Monument to Sunnah. So, because otherwise, most of what I took is... Oh, actually, I took an Engineer engine. This is interesting. So this is a totally new model option for the Empire of Dannstahl, the Engineer engine. I think it's pretty damn cool, pretty damn good too. 0 to 1, HP 5, Res 5, Armor 4. It's got 5 guys that have halberds and handguns on it. It's got a couple horses pulling it. It's got some impact hits, and then it's got this great rule called Elevated Platform / Call the Shot, which is parent and support units within 6 inches may reroll a hit with shooting and close combat attacks. Friendly war machines within 12 may treat themselves as large when drawing line of sight for their shooting attacks. So that's also pretty cool. I definitely forgot the reroll ones way too often, unfortunately. But I think a unit like this could have a ton of potential. Yeah, I played with 2 pieces of artillery. I took a mortar and a catapult. They didn't change. I did take a volley gun, though, on my Monument to Sunnah. And I forgot about the ignores light cover and hard target, unfortunately. For a very crucial point in the video, I'm going to point it out when it happens. And I did take the Monument to Sunnah, which is a rework and combination, because I feel like that's one of DanT's goals with this homebrew, from what I followed in the forum and different threads, was sort of this idea of combining things and also, I think, reducing some power level with definitely the steam tank currently, where it is, still, to me, it feels auto take-ish. Every now and then I think about not taking it, but then I sort of just feel like I'm so used to playing with it at this point, and I like it in my lists that I end up taking it. So the Monument to Sunnah is a combination of the War Altar and the Steam Tank profile. So gone is the random movement. It's an 8-inch, it's a large construct that has fear, fearless, ponderous, towering presence, unbreakable. It's got Advance 8, March 8, Discipline 7, 6 HP, Defensive 1, Res 6, 3 up armor save. Its chassis is now Strength 6, AP 2, Agility 1. It's got Grind attacks, D6 plus 2. It has a new rule called Ponderous, which is the defensive skill is always 1. It now can charge instead of where this team takes random movement. It can charge, it can pursue, it can overrun, but that's subject to minimize, so it will be harder for it to get into combat. And then the model gains devastating charge. Grinding attacks become maximized, which is, I think, that's it's neat. It's interesting that you can actually pursue and overrun now. That can definitely be helpful. It'll be a little bit harder to get to combat. I almost wouldn't mind if its advance rate was maybe 1 higher or something like that. But it's interesting. I like it. So, and then it has 4 upgrades. You must choose one of each. So, or one in the 2 different categories. So you can either choose a Faith Monument to Sunnah that has an Aegis 4-up, or you can choose a Steel Monument to Sunnah that gains armor 6 and it fails special saves. So you can either have the 1-up or a 4-up. And then you can either choose Gunpowder or Sunnah's Fury. Gunpowder is you may choose one of the 4 artillery weapons, and it gets aim 3-up. I chose a volley gun for mine this game. Or you can choose Sunnah's Fury, so it can be like the War Altar, and you gain Battle Focus and Fearless. And I think that's an important thing to notice is that one of the things that happened to the Prelates in DanT's book, because again, it was sort of, I think, a power level thing that he was thinking about, is Prelates actually be all the way back up at the top in their blessing rule. Prelates don't give hatred anymore. They have battle focus. So definitely an interesting change there. I think for a long time, Empire of Dannstahl has sort of relied on Prelates for that hatred as just that easy access to a reroll. So it would be interesting to see how battle focus could play into being more grindy versus having those strong turn 1 combats. So this ended up being kind of long, but I hope this gives an overview. It's definitely not the full overview of the Dannstahl book. I'm going to include a link in the description of the video for those who would want to look at it, to both the forum threads that are sort of talking about the Dannstahl book and a link to it, and so it's readable too. So let's get into the battle. So this is my Dannstahl list that I played with. I took a Marshal. He's my general. He's got the Imperial Seal, Evidence of Civilization, and Lucky Charm, and a gray weapon. Pretty much as he was before. He has 1 order. He's got that kind of basic human stat line. Offensive, defensive 5, 3 wounds. Not too much of a change there. The Regimental Commander, and he does have Discipline 10 with the Imperial Seal. So the Regimental Commander is sort of a new character, almost more like an old hero captain. He's only got 2 attacks, but he's still, offensive 5, defensive 5. Discipline 9. He's the only option you have for a battle standard bearer, which is probably my only complaint about Empire of Dannstahl, is that we still only have 1 option for a battle standard bearer, which I think is particularly difficult with the Empire of Dannstahl, but to me has always been just a bit of a bummer, and that we don't have multiple options. And again, I'm not sure what that is. Part of me is like, we probably couldn't have a prelate as one. And at that point, what else do we have? We have Inquisitors, which also kind of feels a little bit out there, but I don't know. Sometimes I just think it's a bit of a bummer. That's total side rant. He's the battle standard bearer. He's on a Pegasus, and that it's got the Pegasus and Sigma Corps all together in one phrase. He's got a pistol. He's got the Basalt Infusion. He's got the Dust Forged on a shield and a lance. So, he's got a 1-up rerollable, and then he has a 5-up Aegis against range attacks when he's next to parent units. So he feels pretty survivable on a Pegasus. He's definitely doesn't have a ton of combat output with only 2 attacks and 2 attacks on Pegasus. But it was kind of something I wanted to try out. Yeah. So the Prelate, he's got a great weapon, Essence of Mithril. He got a little bit cheaper, which is nice. I like how cheap this model is for only 200 points, which granted, all he has now is Battle Focus and Prayers, so I would kind of hope he's a little bit cheaper. still seems sort of valuable. Same stat line, pretty much as before. I got a wizard who's a master of cosmology. He's got light armor, Destiny's Call, magical heirloom. And then I have an artificer with a long rifle. Long rifle didn't change. The artificer did change because he doesn't have an order anymore because he would have to give the order to a parent unit, and I don't know if you would really want him in a parent unit. I mean, now he's just a normal engineer, and he has a new rule where your shooting unit gets to re-roll ones to wound, which is pretty good. A nice thing that I liked in Dante's book is he can put him on a horse and he can actually make riders support unit now, which I think is pretty cool because I think that's something we've wanted to see for a long time. I didn't do that in this, but that is definitely something I feel like I want to try out in the future. So my core is 38 regimental infantry with halberds, your standard heavy infantry, full command, 15 regimental marksmen with handguns, a champion, and one of the things I liked, or one of the things I thought was actually a nice boost to handguns in the DanT book is champions get a free access to either a long rifle or repeater handgun, which I thought was a good upgrade. And only handgun units can do that. So I thought that was actually a pretty clever way to give handguns a little bit of an edge over crossbows, not a little bit of a differentiating, even though I have been finding I've been enjoying handguns a bit more just because their AP2 can be very helpful. 20 crossbows, they have the marksman pendant, which didn't change, still ignore the stand and shoot penalty. 20 regimental infantry with halberds, musician, banner, full command. The second part of my Dannstahl list is I took 25 Imperial Guard. They pay for the 10 additional models. You can give Imperial Guard halberds now. Household standard is the same, where it increases your commanding presence, and they have full command. Yeah, the halberds is interesting. I mean, it's sort of nice to keep the agility. I don't know. I mean, I think they're 3 points a model. I'm trying to think if great weapons are still three. But great weapons are still 3 points. Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought it'd be interesting, so I tried it out. Mortar, rocket battery, engineer cart, two things of riders. Those just with a brace of pistol, or sorry, with just a single pistol. They went a little bit cheaper in his version, and then a monument to Sunnah, which is steel, so it's got a 1-up armor save, gunpowder, so it's got a volley gun, and let's look at my opponent's list. So playing against some Highborn Elves, my opponent's got a High Prince who's got Destiny's Call. He's got the Spear. He's a Master Cranic Tower. And then he's got a Mage who's a Wizard Master with Divination and the Obsidian Rock. And then he's got a Commander who's got a Longbow. He's a Queen's Companion. He's got a 2-up armor set. He's got a halberd and the crown of the Wizard King. And so plenty of magic. He's got the 2 Commander Reaver Chariots that are OP. He's got 21 Sea Guard with an Aether icon and full command. 9 Highborn Lancers with the War Banner of Rima. 5 Elaine Reavers. 23 Lion Guard with the Banner of Becalming. 3 single Reaver Chariots and 3 Bolt Throwers. This is the magic I took for this game. So from Cosmology, I have Unity Divergence, Perception of Strength, Ice and Fire, Altered Sight, and then I took Quicksilver Lash with my Magical Heirloom. And I don't have Word of Iron. That's actually the back side of the Cosmology attribute card. Starting on the right in this picture is the Empire of Dannstahl deployment. So I've got 5 riders with just their pistols. We've got my monument to Sunnah behind the building. We've got my Pegasus regimental commander, Pegcom. I guess could be their new nicknames. Next to that field, in the field I have my 15 handgunners, regimental marksmen with handguns. I have my large parent unit of regimental infantry with halberds. They have full command. They do not have a banner. They do have the prelate in there.
And then I have my detachment supporting unit of 20 regimental infantry, full command as well, and they also have halberds. I have 25 Imperial Guard with halberds. I have my Wizard Master in there and my Marshal. They have the household standard, so I've got that 18-inch Discipline 10. I have my Engineer engine behind the Imperial Guard next to the rocket battery. In the ruins, I have my 20 regimental marksmen with crossbows. They have the marksman pendant, and they also have the engineer in there. And then behind them, I have my mortar, and I have my last unit of riders with just their pistols. My opponent's deployments, starting on the right, he's got one of his reaver chariots in a unit with his reaver chariot commander. And then he's got his 9 lancers. He's got a bolt thrower kind of partially in the pond right there. He's got his 5 reavers partially in the water. He's got his big unit of line guard with his spear prints. Then he's sort of finishing up, ranking up his sea guard in that picture. And the sea guard, he's going to have his BSB and his Wizard Master. He's got his 2 other bolt throwers on the hill. He's got another Reaver Chariot with the commander in a Reaver Chariot, his second commander in a Reaver Chariot behind the hill, and then he's got one more Reaver Chariot chilling behind that wall all the way on his extreme left flank. So at the start of Empire of Dannstahl turn 1, I put advance, not on the double, but to figure out what that will be in the future, but advance on my 2 parent units, which benefited all my support units. So everyone got +1 advance, +4 march, and all the shooting units that had unwieldy, my crossbows and handguns, didn't have to suffer that penalty this turn. So going into the magic phase, I did move up with everybody. I'll show a pick at the end of the phase. I threw a Quicksilver Lash at these guys over here, did 3 wounds. This is a panic test, so I'll get to that in a second. Shooting, killed a few Sea Guard with, I believe, a mortar partial hit. And a rocket battery hit, and it killed one of the Reaver Chariots, but not the hero Reaver Chariot. And he panicked off the board. That was that panic test we saw a couple pictures ago. The rocket battery did take a wound, though, so had to put wound marker down. The crossbow shot and did 1 wound to this bolt thrower. And then the handgunner shot and did 1 wound to this bolt thrower. Looking at this, this is the Monument to Sunnah, the volley gun shooting at the Reaver Chariots. I was able to do 2 wounds to 1 Reaver Chariot and 1 wound to the hero Reaver Chariot, so not too bad. And this is a good picture showing my movement. So I moved up with the pretty much everybody. The whole line moved up a little bit more with some than others. You know, the infantry just, or the regimental marksmen moved up 5 so they could shoot. I think the crossbows only got 1 rank in to the bolt thrower. I held back one of my unit riders, and the other unit riders and my regimental commander on his Pegasus moved up pretty aggressively to threaten the bolt throwers. This is Highborn Elves turn 1, and you can see my opponent's movement. So he moved his Reaver Chariot that was on the left to be outside the arc of the Monument to Sunnah, sort of threatening my regimental marksmen at their handguns, and then he sort of turned his Reaver Chariots to possibly look at the bolt throwers if he couldn't get rid of, you know, like my BSB or my riders, and then he just sort of scooted back his lancers because he felt like he was already feeling like he lost too many, and then he lost those chariots, and he was just thinking moving forward is just going to be shot, which is understandable. And he moved up, moved his center over to sort of look towards, you know, that building and that impassable train in the middle of the board, and towards the big unit of heavy infantry moving on my opponent. So my opponent gets altered sight off in his magic phase. The shooting just was really effective. He shoots both bolt throwers at the Pegasus. Regimental commander, he was within 8 inches of the big unit of heavy infantry with halberds. Regimental infantry with halberds. It's gonna take forever. And yeah, I just, you know, he hit, wounded. I failed my Aegis save. I think he did 2 wounds, and then he shot a tree chunk again, hit wounded, failed the Aegis save, and then that was it. And he uses the Sea Guard to just delete the riders, so that was a bit of a bummer. So, going into Empire of Dannstahl turn 1, this is what the end of Highborn Elves turn 1 looks like. So, I actually honestly make a total mistake here. I definitely forgot at this point that I just lost my only second order in the list, which may be sort of a downfall of Pegasus, is that even though it did have good protection, it obviously can't be saved against everything. And I ended up putting 2 orders out. So I put Brace for Impact on my big unit of heavy infantry, and I put on the double. I feel like it's a toss-up for which one would have made more sense at the time, because I wanted both of these orders so that the regimental marksman handguns could just shoot at a bolt thrower and possibly get rid of it. And then I wanted to move up my other unit of crossbows so that they could shoot at the bolt thrower on the far side of the board. I feel like the smart move probably would have been the Brace for Impact, and I would have just had to either deal. I think I only had 1 rank of shots with the crossbows, and maybe that's what it would have just had to been. So unfortunately, yeah, that was a mistake, a bad, cheating play. I'll be honest. So this is the movement. I sort of just pull back my line a little bit, kind of feeling how close I could have been to those line guard, and I move up my monument to Sunnah 8 inches. It's either going to shoot the chariots or a bolt thrower or something, and I moved up my engineer engine so that it could possibly shoot at the Reaver chariot over there. I have 5 handgun shots. Be long range and move, not unwieldy though, because that's a nice rule for the engineer engine. Hitting on 5s, I might do a wound or 2. I get Flux card 3, and I don't really get anything off the magic phase. I do shoot the handguns and get rid of one of the bolt throwers that had full wounds. And then this is sort of where it was pretty crucial. These guys shot, and they did get Altered Sight up, and they shot, and they took off the other bolt thrower that had 3 wounds on it. So it's kind of a toss-up. I feel like I did more than 3 wounds because I had so many more shots, but it's kind of a toss-up. I think whether or not 7 shots would have done that with Altered Sight, regard. So yeah, I'm not really going to mince words too much more than that. And then this bad boy shot over here, and I believe this bolt thrower had a wound on it, and then it got healed via the Prince with his Master Crannic Tower magic. This thing shoots with the volley gun, and it only puts 3 wounds on it. So that was a bit disappointing that I couldn't take this other bolt thrower off. That would have been really big. Thankfully, though, my rocket battery takes off this Reaver chariot, so that was great. I want to say the engineer engine did not contribute. It takes a wound. And this is going into the Highborn Elves turn 2. So this is Highborn Elves turn 2, their movement phase. So he moves up his Reavers to chaff one of my regimental infantry support units and my Imperial Guard with halberds. He moves up his line guard pretty aggressively to probably be into combat next turn. He moves up his Reaver chariots aggressively to also threaten my marksmen and my regimental infantry with halberds, my big parent unit in the middle there. And yeah, he just has his Sea Guard in a good position so that they can stand and shoot against stuff. And yeah, he's kind of just ready to go here. You can see he's sort of playing around with what he wants to do with his Lancers up there on the top. I think they're just still sort of trying to figure out where they should go, trying to avoid getting chopped by the crossbows. And yeah, that's pretty much it for opponent's movement. He gets Flux card 3/2. He gets Favor of Miladies off, unfortunately. He does a Quicksilver Lash against my Engineer card, does a wound there, it wasn't too bad. He gets Altered Sight off, and then he goes into the shooting phase. So shooting with his Sea Guard, he takes out 7 regimental infantry with their handguns. And then this is going into the Empire of Dannstahl turn 3. So I put brace for impact on my heavy infantry so that I could. One, I thought accurate could be useful on handguns, possibly depending on what target I wanted to shoot at. But more so, I was thinking for my 2 infantry blocks. So I have to go back for a turn though. As you can see, this is the previous turn where my opponent was moving his chaff. If you look closely at it, it doesn't look right because it goes one model, a second model in the second rank, and then one model in the last rank. So I don't know what my opponent was thinking. He just sort of was. He was having trouble figuring out how he wanted. He knew he wanted to chaff the Imperial Guard. That was probably the most important thing. Is he didn't want the Imperial Guard being able to charge into the White Lions with everything else. I think. So I feel like that was his objective, was to block the Imperial Guard. I initially, at the start of my turn, was thinking, okay, I'm just going to charge my small unit of regimental infantry with the halberds, the support unit, into the chaff. Shouldn't really have too much of a problem beating them with, like 3 ranks, a flank, a rank and a flank, like a banner, all that stuff. Overrun into the Lion Guard, tie them up for a turn. They're going to get demolished. That's fine. And then the next turn, I will have both my big unit of heavy infantry with halberds and my my Imperial Guard able to charge into his Lion Guard. That was my initial plan at the start of Empire of Dannstahl turn 3. So my opponent though ended up when we realized his chaff was messed up, I sort of gave him the opportunity to fix it. So he ended up changing his chaff in that it didn't make it so that I could overrun into the Lion Guard with the heavy infantry, which was kind of a bit of a bummer because then it was how do I chaff them, and I couldn't really chaff them with the movement I had. So I decided just to take out the Reavers with my Imperial Guard and to charge the Lion Guard with both of my heavy infantry. I think I lose 5 models to the stand and shoot from the Sea Guard on the big unit of heavy infantry, which isn't too terrible. And so I decided just sort of try it out, to go for it, to see how well the grinding works. I know that's kind of an aspect of this book that DanT wanted to sort of emphasize, being a little bit more grindy. I got Flux Card 5. I moved these guys up to shoot. This thing shoots, and unfortunately with favorable ladies, I just couldn't really do enough wounds to make it to where I could just kill these guys outright. So he's able to use favor to really discount a lot of the wounds I did to these guys. I am able to shoot the handgunners and to get rid of the Reaver Chariot, so that's helpful at least since that model's gone. It can't really come back at this point. And then we go to combat. So my magic phase was a total dud this turn. The Lion Guard do 2 wounds on the Prelate, which stinks. And then this is pretty much after combat. So I do, I think, about 7 wounds to him. He does more back to me. I am steadfast everywhere, thanks to my parents' support unit rules. And this is how we're looking. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I'm not working with like a ton of attacks. It was only 10 attacks on the side, and I want to say I put a lot in the Prince, and I just couldn't poke him anywhere. I was thinking, let me try and poke wounds on this guy. I mean, he only had a 4 up. If I possibly kill him, that's big. He's a lot of points. And then I think I only had, it's like 15 attacks. So, for the amount of attacks I had, it wasn't terrible, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a long slog. And this is what the board is looking like at the end of Empire of Dannstahl turn 3. This guy charges into the marksman, which they take it. I don't think they could stand and shoot. I think they were a little too close. If they did, they didn't do anything. This guy, one Reaver survived the combat against the Imperial Guard. I really whiffed against them, and he just keeps running. And yeah, this is my opponent's movement. He turns the Sea Guard to look at the riders. He's moving his Lancers back towards maybe the middle. He's, it's still breakthrough is the objective, so he's still thinking about how he's going to get across that, board with them maybe. And we go to magic. My opponent gets the Oaken Throne off. He gets Waken the Beast off for Resilience, which is really good against my Strength 4. He does a wound, I believe, with the Bolt Thrower. I lose my Prelate to the Lion Guard. And then this is after combat again. So this turn, I feel like I barely did anything to the Lion Guard. Just, with Resilience 4 up, and I mean, I'm hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s before, now 4s. Just, I couldn't really do that many wounds. He moves his Spear Prince to the other side. I can charge them, but it's gonna stink having to have the Spear Prince against the Imperial Guard. So I do end up charging them, and Empire of Dannstahl turn 4. I also charge my Engineer card into his Sea Guard up there. I saw the flank charge, and I thought, might as well give it a try. He moved his BSB out the previous turn, too. I can't remember why, necessarily, but he did. And, so I'm just going to shoot the BSB with the Monument to Sunnah. I'm able to shoot the crossbows. They only do 1 wound to these guys. This combat doesn't really do anything extraordinary. That's actually a pretty cool clip of. That's actually normally my War Altar. That's a pretty cool clip of it, actually. So I win the combat here, but they don't run. I did kill his BSB in the shooting phase. We go into combat over here. We got a blurry picture showing that my Marshal is taking a wound against the Spear Prince. And then this is post-combat. So the support unit of Regimental Infantry were shredded, so they're dead. Got 15 in the parent unit, and then the Imperial Guard were relatively untouched, but they're honestly kind of not in a great spot because I'm putting all my attacks on the Spear Prince, and I just haven't done a single wound to him. I feel like it's a combination of not hitting, not wounding, even if it's like wounding on a 2-up or a 3-up, and then just him making his 4-up Aegis save left. It was 6-up armor saves and then 4-up Aegis saves. So unfortunately, I just cannot kill Spear Prince. We sacrificed a champion over here. Actually, no, we sacrificed a champion in the previous combat, and then this combat, he only did 2 wounds, so we actually had a rank, so we stuck again. So that was really helpful considering this was my turn. So on my opponent's turn 4, he charges his 1 Lancer into the flank. I mean, he's a champion. He actually had 2, but 1 dies to the forest. And then this is just not really much more movement showing the rest of the board. He gets Scrying up in a big bubble, which was a tough one to kind of let go. He gets Waken the Beast off again, but this time for strength so that he can really kill this thing since it has Resilience 5. Going into combat, Spear Prince pokes my Marshal to death, sadly. These guys poke my Engineer card to death, sadly. And then these guys lose 3 more dudes and they run away from combat. They're just going to go right off the board. And this is what it's looking like after combat. So my Marshal died, and all of a sudden, without Discipline 10, I just could not make Discipline checks anywhere. So my big unit of Regimental Infantry are reduced to 8 models. I think they started with some about 40-something, so they're definitely below a quarter. So they're railing on half leadership. And then my big unit Imperial Guard, they flee too. They're on Discipline 8, and they just could not hold. Even with the their bodyguard still with the wizard in there, and they just went right off the board. My opponent pursued with both his Lion Guard and his Lancer. The Lancer dies in the forest, so that was helpful. And then the Lion Guard are right there. So this is at the start of Empire Turnstall 5. I've rallied the Imperial Guard. I've moved my crossbowmen so that they have more shots because they honestly didn't really have a lot of shots previously. I made my unit as wide as possible, thinking let me try and get as many attacks as possible on these Lion Guard. In hindsight, I'm actually going to wish I didn't do that, but you'll see what that looks like. So yeah. And I moved my Monument to Sunnah mostly just to shoot at the Bolt Thrower. I had thoughts of shooting at the Sea Guard, I kind of wanted to shoot at the Lion Guard. I forgot about the volley gun rule. This would actually be the perfect time for the Monument to Sunnah to shoot at the the Lion Guard. They have hard target from scrying still, and they're in a forest, which the volley gun would now completely ignore. So I should have been moving to shoot at them, but I totally forgot. But I feel like I picked a bad target anyway. Yeah. So I get altered sight off on my rocket battery. I toss an ice and fire, and it's a very spicy ice and fire, and it kills 5 Lion Guard. So he's down to 3, and then I also get a Quicksilver Lash off. That only kills 1. And then I shoot with the Monument to Sunnah and get rid of the Bolt Thrower, which does cause a panic test on the Sea Guard, and they fail it, and so they flee, which was helpful. And then this guy shoots, I want to say at the Chariot, but doesn't do anything either because it makes its armor save or its Aegis save or whatever. Takes a wound though, I believe. And then going into Highborn Elves turn 5, charges Spear Boy in like a mad lad with 1 Lion Guard. I think I stand and shoot, and it looks like I maybe kill 1 Lion Guard. And I can't get the other Lion Guard, unfortunately, and I can't even put any wounds on Spear Prince either. I want to say I even shot with like my long rifle engineer. He couldn't. I don't even know if he hit or it's I feel like he hit and wounded, and he just made the Aegis save. To avoid the multiple wounds too. So yeah, it was like it's just couldn't. I just feel like I couldn't do anything against this unit. Opponent moves his chariot over to threaten my artillery pieces. He does rally his Sea Guard. He puts up favor. He puts up open throne. He gets a Lion Guard back. This is honestly after combat. Spear Prince just blows through a bunch. I'm steadfast. I fail steadfast 8 again, and I can't even kill the Lion Guard unit with my Imperial Guard. I get run down. They go into my light infantry. This is technically Empire of Dannstahl turn 6. The Monument to Sunnah and the Mortar have to tag team the Reaver Chariot guy. I couldn't even just do it with one. It had to be both. Together, finish off the Reaver Commander. These guys blow through the light infantry. I can't get the stinking Lion Guard. I can't even kill them. They survive the running through the ruins, and then on turn 6, my opponent kind of moves his characters around to cast some divination, but it doesn't do anything. And this is the end of the game with that one stinking Lion Guard holding on in the back of my board in my deployment zone to win the objective. So that was frustrating. And then my opponent said, let's take a picture of our MVPs. And he puts the Spear Prince, obviously, and he put the Monument to Sunnah. And granted, I thought the Monument to Sunnah did well. But my opponent definitely drastically overhyped it, for sure. I mean, all it mostly did was kill the BSB, and my opponent threw him out there on his own. So I don't know. But we'll talk a little post-game analysis.
So this game ends up being an 18-2 Empire of Dannstahl loss. Definitely lost a huge chunk of points at the end of the game there with the way the Imperial Guard just ran off and lost all. Really that Lion Guard unit and the Prince carried that whole game in an incredible way, and you got to give it up to them. So I feel like I learned a lot playing this. I definitely played a few things wrong, especially with the orders on that second turn. I missed a couple rules here and there. I kind of kept forgetting about the reroll to 1s to wound the Artificer. I forgot about the rerolls to 1 to hit with the Engineer card, which could have been just, overall small little buffs to help me. Overall, I think my favorite thing is the orders. I like how compact they are. I feel like one of the things I like the most is I feel like I can move more with Empire of Dannstahl, where sometimes I feel like you play with light infantry, you just feel really inflexible, where the advanced order, removing the unwieldy penalty, really makes me feel like I can move. I actually feel like it'd be interesting to try smaller units of shooting. My opponent felt the Monument to Sunnah was so powerful, and he was like, it's the MVP of your game. I thought it did great. I don't know if I was like feeling like, all it did was do some wounds to the Reaver Chariots, didn't kill them. Uh, did some wounds to the Bolt Thrower, didn't kill it. Did some more wounds to the Reaver Chariots, didn't even kill them again. I had to use the handgunners to take off one Reaver Chariot, and then took another round of shooting to get rid of a Bolt Thrower, and which I probably should have shot something else, but and then I had to take another round of shooting to get rid of a the Reaver Chariot, and then I killed the BSB one turn. So the probably the biggest thing was just getting rid of the BSB. Overall, I liked it. I felt like it felt appropriate in that there were turns which I would have loved to have charged the Sea Guard, but it was like, or I would have loved to have charged the Reaver Chariots, but they would just flee. Then I don't even get to shoot that turn. So, yeah, I don't know. I liked it. It didn't feel too powerful to me at all. Yeah, I felt appropriately grindy in that, I mean, those regimental infantry did fight that line guard unit for almost 4 combats. So that, is pretty impressive. It was a huge group of guys. But yeah, I don't know, it was interesting. I almost feel like this list, I didn't really need the Imperial Guard, and something else would have been more beneficial. So I don't know. I'll probably retweak the list I play with, try something a little bit different. I really want to try the Arcane Engine. I really like what the Empire of Dannstahl did to that. And hopefully I'll get another Empire of Dannstahl game out here soon. I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you for enjoying this battle report, this extended one. I know this one kind of got really long, talking about all the Empire of Dannstahl stuff, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again with another Empire, or another 9th Age battle report. See ya.